My name's Sally. I'm a career coach. I'm really passionate about people taking control of their careers. I'm really passionate about it because having spent 20 years on the employment or in the employment industry, there are loads of different patterns that I see forming. And those are that people have limiting beliefs. They lack confidence sometimes when they're out there on the job market. They have, they have kind of lost their way. Sometimes they feel a little bit lost and a little bit like they don't really know which direction to go in. And I feel that when I do a lot of my one-to-one work, there is a feeling of isolation and there's a feeling of I'm out there on my own, and it can be very isolating. So the reason I like to do these workshops and to do these free workshops and to bring people together is for people to know that, you're not out there on your own, and there is such a strength in community. And you can see there's 29 of you, 30 of you who are in a situation where you're currently out of work and looking for new opportunity. And I'm really sorry that is the case. I do really empathise. And like I said, I spend a huge amount of my week every week speaking to individuals like you. And what might be also useful for you to know at this stage is that there is actually a workbook that accompanies this workbook. Like I said, it was a little bit last minute that I've been involved. So there is a workbook. So if you want a copy of this workbook, because today we're going to be going through quite a few little exercises to kind of get you through these kind of limitations and these challenges that you need to overcome. So if you email me, and I'll put this in the chat when I go back to the next screen, at sally@scoach.uk. So that's sally@scoach.uk. I will email you out a workbook that you can kind of work through. So, wow, my goodness, there's so many of us on today. We're going to have an absolutely great afternoon. I'm going to cram as much in as I can over the next hour. So that is question number one. There are still a few trickling through, but I am actually going to ask you now to answer the next question. So I'm just going to escape, go back, and I'm going to ask you how your current situation makes you feel. My goal really this afternoon is for us to kind of work through these feelings, and I appreciate I'm asking you to bare your soul. We've only been with each other for 5 minutes, and I'm asking quite a lot of you, but really it's really important to there's lots of different okay, hopefully some words will come through now. Sorry about that. So yeah, the media will have be telling us that there are no jobs out there. There are hundreds of thousands of people looking for them. It's a desperate situation. People are furloughed. People who are in work feel quite unhappy with what they do. What we're not seeing at the moment on the job market is people who are in work and unhappy moving because they're too scared of what the future looks like. We've had to deal with homeschooling. We've had to deal with isolation. And, a lot of the time we try and suppress these feelings, and we try and put them to one side, and we don't want to think about them. And what a lot of coaching questions do is ask you, they can feel like they're quite direct, but they are designed to help you confront those feelings and to really kind of put a label on them. So there's no right or wrong answers here, but really, if we start looking at some of these words, I hope that you do know and you do understand that you really are not alone in how you're feeling. And these feelings can be, quite uncomfortable to sit with, but you're not alone, and there's lots of other people feeling the same way as you. So by confronting these feelings and really labeling them, we are able to have a base point. We've got something to work from. And I think that is a really positive thing when we're trying to get from A to B, and maybe we don't know what B is yet, or maybe we do know what our goal is. We know where we're starting from, and this is our base point. So hopefully that you feel like you're not alone. And really this afternoon, I want you, like I said, to be back in the driving seat, and I want you to have a better relationship with how you're feeling. So if we look at these words, and I am going to come out of this screen now, I appreciate that some of you are still kind of typing away and getting them through. So as I exit this screen and I go into my next, and this isn't a question, this is just a presentation. These feelings, they're pretty uninspiring, some of them. They're not that uplifting, they're not empowering. They're not going to catapult us out of bed in the morning, and they can make us feel quite vulnerable. And when we're vulnerable, we are maybe feel uneasy, or we feel reluctant to go out there and ask for help. We might be reluctant to put our hand up, or have that challenging conversation, or apply for that job, or go for promotion. Some of these things can really, really feel out of reach. And even putting yourselves out there in a new networking situation can feel like a really, really big hill to climb. So we're going to crack on with exercise 1. You will find one of these wheels in your workbook, and the wheel essentially represents our lives. So for the purpose of this exercise, and there's lots of different ones that we can go through, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to ask you to split your life into 8 segments. And those 8 segments could be your job, your family, your house, maybe your friends, or your hobbies and passions, maybe your health and exercise, maybe your financial responsibility. And once you have segmented your life, for each of those segments, I would like you to scale them, to rank them from 1 to 10. And the number 1 is at the beginning, is the middle of the circle, and the number 10 is at the outside of the circle. And by going and having a deep dive and looking at each individual segment, hopefully you will feel empowered that there are actually the certain elements of your life that are really good. And it might be that your family life is really stable. You've got some wonderful friends and a fantastic network. You've been able to spend some time recently looking after your health and exercise, so you feel fit and you feel like you're looking after yourself. You know, maybe you're not having to do that commute at the moment, and the stresses that that causes. And if we then, and the whole reason for this exercise, or the outcome of this exercise, is to really compartmentalize everything and hopefully realize that there are only maybe 2 or 3 segments that we really need to focus on. And when we're in a position of vulnerability, the world can seem quite skewed. And actually, if we take a more objective view on things, it can appear that actually, if we put all of our efforts, or the majority of our efforts, into focusing on the things that need our attention, and with the safety and security blanket of the things that are going well in our lives as a backup, it almost feels like a much smaller hill to climb, and it allows you to focus on things, like I said, that need development. Now, this wheel you can use in any aspect of your life. So we've used it today to look at your life in general, and hopefully be able to put some things into perspective. But you can also use this wheel for very kind of focused tasks. So if we're looking at it, and there's some examples of this in your workbook. So we were looking at it from a new job. So if you were looking at a new job, I need to get a new job, feels like a huge task you've got to achieve, a huge hill you've got to climb. But if you broke each of these segments down, and one of them was skills, the skills and experience you've got, one of them was industry experience you've got, one of them was the network, or one segment was your go-to-market strategy, hopefully you'll be able to see that, 5 or 6 of these segments you've actually scored really, really high. And if you just focused your attentions potentially on, your go-to-market strategy, or if you just focused it on, for the next 4 weeks, I'm just going to focus on my network. So I'm not actually going to go and apply for all these jobs, because at the moment, potentially, I don't feel like it's getting me anywhere. I'm just going to focus all of my efforts for the next 4 weeks on networking. And Neil has created a fantastic opportunity for us all to network today. If you were just to focus all of your attention on networking and actually take that score from a 1 to an 8, it would allow your wheel to turn in a lot better, a lot more efficiently, and actually be building on your skills as well. So there's some great examples, like I said, of a new job. You can use this wheel for an interview. There's also one that you can it's a real deep dive exercise. So use this wheel as is work working? So is the role that you're in, or the role you're looking for, the right role for you? And you can download that on my website for free. So that's at www.scotch.uk. So hopefully that's a really useful exercise for you to use and a key takeaway for today. So where are we going next? I think we're going to go back to Menti. And the question I'm going to ask you is this: what is holding you back? What is holding you back? So what is your biggest challenge? And I'm going to wait a couple of minutes for you and it's just a free text just like the one you did before, actually, free text. What is holding you back? It could be the fear of the unknown. Motivation is coming through. Time, responsibility, money. It could be confidence, self-worth. It could be plan. It could be that you don't know what step you need to take next, or that you're worried about potentially what others think of you, or, you know, fear of failure. So too long. So hopefully we have some more come through. And again, I appreciate I'm asking you to bare your souls, and really put yourself out there and put you in a position of, you know, potentially feeling vulnerable to share these thoughts. But again, I really want you to hopefully see that you're not alone in the way that you're thinking. And as they come through, complacency, qualifications. So someone's saying imposter syndrome then. Yeah, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome in a minute, and confidence. And I think, you know, when we're approaching something from a place of vulnerability, when we're not feeling our best, when we potentially have been out of work for a little while, again, you know, these challenges can feel quite overwhelming, and they can feel that they are a big hill to overcome. But I'm here to tell you, this is the stuff I get out of bed for. This is all the work that I do with my clients. I do a lot of kind of one-to-one coaching on interview techniques. I do a lot of one-to-one coaching of, you know, people. I mean, a lot of my clients at the moment have been furloughed, and they're really worried about going back to work, and they're worried that actually, is it the job that they want to do? But they're also fear of being on the job market. So there's lots of case studies that I can share with you. These feelings genuinely are, you're not alone. And the good news is you can overcome all of them. Trust me, you can absolutely overcome all of them. And these essentially are what we call, and I think someone's used the word imposter syndrome a couple of times on that slide, but they are limiting beliefs. And a limiting belief is a state of mind. It's a conviction. It's a belief that you think to be true about yourself that is limiting you in some way. And the reason I ask you the question, what is holding you back, is because these limiting beliefs really, really are holding you back, and they're making you small. And there's lots of different reasons we have limiting beliefs, but they come back to the caveman. You know, come back to us being in caves, having to go out there and look for food, having to constantly be aware of danger and constantly be aware of somebody else, something else coming and eating you. So they are there for a purpose. They are there to keep you safe, but they also keep you hidden, and they keep you small. And they keep you in this state of high alert. And what your brain does like is predictability. Your brain likes to know exactly where you are, exactly what you're doing, exactly how you're going to respond to a situation. So it doesn't like the unknown. So when we're in a position where we don't know what the future holds, it can make us feel like something is going to be dangerous. And so you need to avoid it at all costs. But if you look at that slide and look at all the words that are on there, they are just thoughts. They're not reality. They are just thoughts. They are things that you think are going to happen, things that you think are holding you back. They're not real. And we have 60,000 thoughts every single day of our lives. And out of those 60,000 thoughts, 85% of them are negative, and 90% are repetitive. So a lot of the thinking that we do, and a lot of the things that we're worried about, is thinking from the outside in. But what we need to do is really flip that and think about it from the inside out. And this is all where the control comes in play. So there's lots of different ways that we can overcome limiting beliefs, and we're going to go through a few of them. But I would not be doing my job properly if I didn't talk to you about imposter syndrome and what it is. And imposter syndrome is essentially a fear of being found out, a fear of being found out to be a fraud. But 70% of people suffer from imposter syndrome. And it's really important that we put that into perspective, because it is there your relationship with your imposter syndrome can be completely turned around, and you could absolutely use it to your advantage. So yes, you can label the thoughts and understand what the imposter syndrome is trying to tell you. But when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it's because you're trying something new. It's because you're going into the unknown and you're putting yourself out there. So if you put a different spin on it and saw it as an opportunity to grow and develop and to try something new, and saw it as a good opportunity as opposed to something that you should be put off by, you can really use imposter syndrome to your advantage. So essentially, imposter syndrome is the opportunity to grow and develop, which is a really, really positive thing. So let's quickly talk about limiting beliefs and what we can do to overcome them. And then I'm going to take you through your second exercise for today. So imposter syndrome, number one, we need to label how we're feeling. So there are 54 different comments on the slide in front of you. So 54 things that we could acknowledge that is holding us back, that are holding us back. So what some people do is they destroy them. So they take the limiting belief and they write it down and they process it. And there's a really positive thing that we can do to process thoughts is to actually write them down. And some people close the book if they're journaling and think, right, okay, all of these thoughts are out of my head now and I'm going to put them away. Some people burn them. Some people rip them up. Some people visualize them in our head rather than writing them down and thinking, right, I visualized that thought. It may be lacking self-confidence or self-doubt, and I'm going to watch that thought drift away. That thought does not serve me anymore. If you wanted to take it one step further and you had more of an analytical mind, which is what I do, I've got quite a scientific, like, I want to know facts. How can I have a counter argument? Is to pretend you're your own defense lawyer. So every time, and I would urge you to do this, both when you're feeling potentially not yourself, but also when you're in a really, really good place. So if you think, do you know what, I've woken up today, I've got a bit of a spring in my step, I know these limiting beliefs and this imposter syndrome is going to come and creep up at me at some point over the next week. So I'm going to use this opportunity when I'm feeling really good. Maybe I've just gone for a run and I've got some natural hormones kind of rushing through my body, to actually sit down and be kind to yourself and be your own defense lawyer. So if you're thinking about, I don't know, self-confidence, or if you're thinking, do you know what, I'm really not that good at interviews, think back at a time you are good. You are good at these things. If you weren't good at interviews, you would never have got a job before. So think about all the things you can do to be your own defense lawyer, and write down lists of things that would counter argument your limitation or your limiting belief. You could ask for feedback, and it's a great way to do this, especially if you're networking, because you can really, really help each other throughout this journey. So ask for different feedback. And I used to do this kind of face-to-face when we were allowed to kind of go in and present to people and touch each other. But I would ask colleagues to come into a room and to write feedback about each other, good things about each other, and stick them on each other's backs. And it would be amazing what other people see in you that you don't see in yourself. It's a really, really positive and, be quite a uplifting experience. And also, objectively think about what your friends would say about you. If your friend had come to you with a situation or the challenge that you pose, how would you talk to your friends? So hopefully I'm asking you to, just have a bit of compassion and to, really, really look after yourselves. So hopefully, and in terms of the kind of imposter syndrome, please do not hide behind it. Use it, like I said, as an opportunity to really use it as an opportunity for growth. So I'm going to take you on now to the next, and this is not a question, it's just part of the presentation. So the next exercise, and these are really, really powerful. And these we use in coaching sessions all the time. And this is a fantastic way for you to have a look at limiting beliefs and completely flip them on their heads. So it's called incisive questioning. And incisive questionings are a fantastic tool that you can use to challenge your limiting beliefs. And they can challenge your negative self-talk and assumptions on which they're formed. So these questions, they serve a dual purpose. And they serve a dual purpose because when you hear the first part of the incisive question, your brain immediately puts your limiting belief to one side and you are immediately transported into a more affirming territory where suddenly you believe the absolute opposite of yourself, and it's absolutely magic. So this is how we do it. And again, this goes into a lot more detail in your workbook. So the step one is we're going to turn the limiting belief on its head, and we're going to call it now a liberating assumption. So it could be that you are, or I am, disorganized or indecisive, or I'm not confident enough. And you start the question like this: if I knew that, and then you insert your liberating assumption, this is how I would go forward. And it's the second part of this question that really opens up the possibilities for a much more solution-focused thinking process. So the steps to the incisive questions are detailed in the workbook. They should start with, what do you want to happen? You might be assuming that, what you're assuming is stopping you for doing something. But what is it that's stopping you doing it? What is it that's stopping you the most? Really dig deep and really dig down into what that could be. And then you want to flip that on its head. And I'm just going to take you through, because I've put together a slide for you that kind of brings this to life a little bit more. Bear with me. We'll just bring it up. So if I knew I was effective, organized, and decisive, these are the actions I would take. I would delegate more. I would manage up. I would get better at saying no. I would do the tasks that I'm putting off most first. So hopefully you can really do some deep dive work on this and really think about it as a much more kind of solutions focused approach to overcoming your own limitations, or limitations that you're imposing on yourself. And if you think about a solutions focused approach in everyday life, we use it all the time. This is how we teach and we talk to our kids. This is what is expected of us when we are at work and we are working. We're expected to be faced with a challenge, be faced with a problem, and overcome it and be solutions focused. So hopefully by using these coaching questioning techniques on ourselves, it can be a really, really powerful thing. And a phrase that I really, really love is, what is the best that can happen? If you think to yourself, or ask yourself the question, or ask the question of others, what is the worst that can happen? Your mind is immediately going into a negative spiral of all these bad things that are going to happen. If you flip it around and say, what is the best that can happen? Then hopefully your brain is immediately thinking of all these solutions and all these amazing things that can happen. So that is the thought I'm going to leave you with on this section. So let's have a look at where we are going to next. Oh, I tell you what, this is the best bit actually. Bear with me. Okie doke. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you, what are you good at? We are going to say, move over small talk, move over pillow talk. It's all about positive talk. And I really, really want you to talk to me and tell me what you are good at. I had a one-to-one session with a client recently, and she said, oh, I hate presentations. I hate presentations. I hate them in interviews. It'd be my worst possible scenario. And as we were kind of talking through all the things that she's kind of achieved in her life and in her career, she started talking to me about this amazing presentation that she had done, and for one of her clients, and the amazing feedback that she had got, and the feedback that she had got. And I just thought, well, actually, it's not the presentation that you're worried about. It's not the presentation, because you're actually really good at presentations. It's breaking that down and thinking, okay, maybe it's a presentation at the interview. So think about all the things you're good at. And this is a really, really good opportunity for you to, think about it. When was the last time you thought about things that you were good at? And I love it when this slide comes together. Galvanizing teams, fantastic. Coaching, hopefully that was you, Penny, saying coaching, but it could be anyone else. Planning, customer service, building rapport, empathy, leading change, organizing, listening, caring for people, dealing with people. I'm just going to leave this up and see how powerful it is. All these skills that we've got, it's absolutely fantastic. Multitasking, career coaching. That must have been you, Penny. It might be Sarah, actually. Sarah's up next, and if you're on yet, Sarah. Problem solving. See, whoever put problem solving, I mean, that is it. I mean, all you need to do is put the things that are potentially holding you back. That is the problem that you can overcome. If you're good at problem solving for other people, you've got to be good at problem solving for you. And on that, you know, as this kind of slide is coming together, it's really, really powerful. You know, it's in when we have the fear of the unknown. If it's a good situation, let's think about a holiday we're trying to plan, a girl's holiday, your kid's 5th birthday that you want, you know, to run without a hitch. If you're thinking about a wedding that you're planning, all of these things are actually unknown, but because we're coming at them from a place of excitement, it's amazing how much energy and how much attention that we give these things. So I think we're very good at putting others before ourselves. And this is a real opportunity for us, especially within our careers and the control that we want to take of our careers, is to really put ourselves in that position of you are number one. You know, other things can wait. This is a real opportunity for you to take control and put yourself first. So that is absolutely fantastic. And the words I'm sure you know is either ones that are big or the ones that people are more than one person's answering. So empathy, organisation, leading change, mentoring, listening. Fantastic. Really, really powerful. I have to take a picture of that and I'll share that with you all after. It's absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, so we're on a roll now. We're now thinking about the things that we're good at, not the things that we potentially need to overcome. Right, next question then I'm going to ask you is, what skills have you learned recently? We have been so resourceful over the last 12 months. I've taken up jigsaw puzzles again, which I don't know, could you call that a skill? I'm not entirely sure, but you know what? Genuinely, I absolutely love it. I've even got one for myself for Easter. I'm really, really excited about it because I think it's quite difficult to, you know, have work and home all in one place. You know, everything kind of gets mixed up. So it's good for me to be able to, you know, really kind of compartmentalize that and be able to actually switch off because it can be quite consuming. I've learned tech. I've learned how to use Menti. If someone had said to me a couple of months ago, Sally, you're going to be presenting to however many people using Menti, I would have laughed at them. You could probably hear the little shake in my voice when I came on this afternoon going, how do I share my screen? You know, it's just, I couldn't even use Zoom 12 months ago. New puzzles. Oh my God, who is this? Right, we need to share puzzles. I absolutely love them. Growing tomato, LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is a skill, isn't it? I like gin, origami, Portuguese. I love it that people have, you know, taken up really creative kind of hobbies in the last 12 months. I think it's fantastic. Being a teacher, my goodness, so many people say that, and you're absolutely right. I mean, how much respect have we got now for teachers? Now we've had to, you know, homeschool our children over the last however many months. Who wrote Korean something then? SurveyMonkey. Yeah, I've learned how to use SurveyMonkey as well. Sharing experiences. How much more have we shared? You're right. You know, if someone would have told you 12 months ago that you'd be on this webinar today sharing your deepest, darkest thoughts and your, you know, it's quite, you know, you wouldn't have thought so. I think, you know, for all the bad that's happened, the good that's happened over the last 12 months in terms of people being, you know, more forthcoming with their feelings, spending more time with the people that they love, you know, I've fallen in love with cooking again. I was so lazy before. I've just fallen in love with, you know, just doing the little simple things in life. And there are certain things that we don't want to return, do they? Playing guitar, Spanish, improved judgment. That's a good one. Interacting virtually. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you honestly so much for sharing all that stuff with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I think, you know, when we are feeling low or we're feeling a little bit vulnerable or, you know, we're suffering from imposter syndrome, we do really focus on the negatives. And we focus on the things that we're not good at, the things that we think are going to be a challenge. But we really lose focus on the way that we have pivoted and we have changed our approach to things, the new skills that we've learned. And these are some of the things we've wanted to do, but some of the things we've been forced to do. And so when we're then applying for jobs and thinking, well, I can't do that and I haven't got that experience, it's important to really think to ourselves, well, look how far I've come in the last 12 months. Look at the new stuff that I've learned. And, you know, I can do it. I can do the things that people are asking of me. And these are also great things to talk about if you're out there at interview. You know, the new skills that you have learned and how you have, you know, developed yourself. And I think that's a really important tool and attribute to have, how you've developed yourself and really kind of push yourselves out of the boundaries. So creative writing. Oh, I'd love to be able to do that. In fact, I will be able to do that. So, yeah, I just think it's really important before we try and take a step forward to hopefully take a step back and just remember how amazing we are. And that's a lot of the work that I do with my kind of one-to-one clients as well. So I'm just going to leave this slide up here. I'm just going to go for a little bit of a recap. And then I'm going to open up for some questions and answers. So hopefully, I know I talk a million miles an hour, but hopefully we've established why you're here and potentially what's holding you back. We've worked through how to break down the challenges that we've been faced with and either backing them up with hopefully the support network that you've got or the support networks that you are growing and communities that you're developing, but also the solid foundation of the experience and the skills that you've already got. And hopefully you're going to be able to use those to really put the things into perspective that need focus on and propel that kind of, you know, that propel you forward. And we've talked about how limiting beliefs are basically fake news and work through a number of different ways that we can overcome them, including obviously incisive questioning, which is going to be in your workbook. We have hopefully turned imposter syndrome from something that is really, really overwhelming to something that actually we can compartmentalize and use to our advantage and be able to tap in and out of it to suit us and it's going to serve us well. We've really hopefully reminded ourselves what we're really, really amazing at and what new skills that we have developed and learned recently. And I really hope that I've brought and I've invited you today to just be a bit kinder to ourselves and by taking things kind of step by step, understanding that we can and we will achieve some really, really amazing things. So I'm going to move on now to Q&A and it's going to be on Menti again. So you can just pop the questions in and then I will answer them kind of one by one. And I'll just leave that up there for a second and ask away anything that you want to do, anything you want to ask me, just ask. Whilst the questions are coming through, in your workbook, and I actually took this out of a slide because I thought I was going to run out of time, but it looks like I'm going to be okay for time. There is a section in your workbook called I Am. And what I'd like you to do is more of a kind of reflective piece of work. And it's looking at changing your narrative. And a lot of this is around kind of mindset and growth mindset and essentially being the person that you want to be. So you could rephrase the following phrases. You could ask yourself the question, what am I capable of? Or I wish I could to I am going to. Potentially stop comparing yourself to others and thinking I can do that too. The fear is crippling me to maybe I've got this. And maybe you could write yourself a few sentences, commitment that you're going to make to yourself and also just have it as a sheet that you can refer to when potentially you're not feeling great. So, Sanjay, thank you so much for sharing this. I left work yesterday. Why do colleagues and friends always wait until you leave before telling you how great you are? Oh, Sanjay, I'm so sorry to hear that. I think you're absolutely right. I think we don't, and maybe this is a learning from this year, we don't give each other feedback. And I think it's really important to give people feedback all the time, good and bad, because I think that's the only way we can learn. And when someone isn't necessarily feeling they're great and someone tells you something, that you've done really, really well, that then goes in the, defense lawyer bank, doesn't it? That goes into say, you know what, I am really good at that because such and such told me. So I would encourage everyone. And this as well, especially if any of you, I know that some of you kind of brought up LinkedIn and some of the challenges, and we can go through that. I'm more than happy to answer more questions about LinkedIn. But Really support each other on LinkedIn. It doesn't take anything for you to support somebody else's post. And that, for somebody who's taken the time to construct a message to put out on LinkedIn, which is going to be really daunting when you start doing it. I used to absolutely terrify myself. It means a hell of a lot, and it actually costs you nothing. So all I would do is, support each other, but absolutely leave feedback. So I'm sorry that I'm sorry, Sanjay, that you've had that experience. So what advice would you have for a new college graduate with not much confidence? Okay, well, let's work on the things that you have got confidence in. So what aspects of your life did you feel passionately about what you studied at college? Was there particular subjects or modules that you really excelled in that really kind of got you out of bed in the morning? And remind yourself of that, and remind yourself why you were passionate about those. And that's where the confidence comes from. If you're trying to compare yourself to others, and there's lots of different things that we can talk about in terms of self-validation, okay? If you're trying to compare yourself to others and other people's curated version of the world, you're not comparing like for like. So what you've got to do is think about the things that you are really good at, and your values and your beliefs. And by doing that and working inside out, so confidence is made up of two Latin words, with truth. So if you're looking at it from yourself and with truth, that is how you're going to organically grow confidence. And also practice. So if you are feeling at any given time a little bit confident about something, talk about it, breathe it. Don't hide behind, oh God, this feeling isn't going to last for long. Self-affirmations are also really, really positive and a really good way for you to go. I urge you to go away and do some research on self-affirmations. This could be as part of your I am exercise in your workbook as well. Practicing talking to yourself in a really positive way and saying positive things to yourself, even in the mirror. It's really cringy to start with, but trust me, doing that for 5 minutes a day, being kind to yourself and coming at confidence from a place of compassion as opposed to a place of comparison will absolutely work wonders with you. And I promise you can get over this and you can work on it and develop. So that's my advice. Email address for the workbook is Sally, says my name, Sally at Scoach, SCOACH.UK. So Sally at Scoach.UK. In terms of networking, is it ideal to ask for help from job hunting from a head of department that you were sent a LinkedIn request and accept your request without knowing before? Right, let me start this again. In terms of networking, is it ideal to ask for help for job hunting from a head of department that you sent a LinkedIn request and accepted your request without knowing you before? Only 1 week. Only 1 week connected? Only 1 week connected. Absolutely ask for help from anyone. Ask for help from anyone, because genuinely, if people have got the capacity, they will help you. I do a whole session on kind of goal setting, and part of that session is essentially talking about your goals, because once you talk about them, they start to come to life, and you will be amazed at all the people that can help you. And this is why kind of job searching kind of groups and buddying up is so important. Angie McCaskill was on before me. He's got a great kind of network community of people, and everyone kind of helps each other. And so I would ask for help from absolutely anyone. But start with the people that you know, and then to start to grow your network that way. But you don't really have to know anyone to request them on LinkedIn. It's a pretty friendly place. Concerned that employer responsiveness is far lower during such times. How can I get noticed when there are far less opportunities and more competition? Genuinely, I think it's about having a much more lasered approach to your job search and having a real kind of strategy as to who you're trying to attract and who you're trying to attract in terms of job, and how you can raise your kind of head from the parapet if you really stand out. In terms of LinkedIn, personal branding, I think, is really, really important. There's a fantastic lady called Amelia Sordell who does a live at 12:15 every Wednesday. She is the absolute queen in terms of personal branding. I think once you've found your voice and found out what you want to talk about, it's very easy to then communicate that. So employer responsiveness, just make sure you're trying to talk to the right people as well. As a recruiter with my recruiter hat on, and I've done recruitment for many years, there's more than one person in that recruitment process, in the client, in the company. So make sure you're networking with the right people. If it's finance and accountancy, are you networking with the finance people? Is there anyone that you've got shared connections with? And you'll find that these markets are actually quite small, and there will be connection levels that you can try and infiltrate and get in. Talent acquisition teams, are there recruiters that are specifically dealing with that client? So try and cover all bases. I would say just applying for a job isn't always just the best approach. You've got to try and raise your profile across the market. So hopefully, I'm more than happy to help you, with more of that, if you want me to. And we've got a couple more questions. What do you do if you see regular physical evidence that reaffirms imposter syndrome? Is there ever a case that you can actually are not cut out for something even after positive thinking? I think it would have to be a really, really compelling thing. I mean, I'd like to get a little bit more context if that's all right. I don't know if you can kind of ask another question maybe, or just leave another comment to see physical evidence. I think everything can be overcome if I'm being genuinely, I'm obsessed with kind of sports documentaries, and this, you might not be sporty, but the things that people could achieve if they set their mind to it. If there is something that imposter syndrome, you're really suffering with, I can guarantee you there is an online course that you can take to tackle whatever that challenge is. Genuinely, there is an online course. Online learning is absolutely huge at the moment, and it is so powerful and it's so accessible. What we're doing today is online learning. There are so many different topics that you can really go in on and do lots of research on. Loads of podcasts. I'm an absolute podcast addict. There's loads of different ways that you can develop your skills, regardless of what they are. How maybe get your workbook? It's been a great session. Thank you very much. Thank you for insight. So the workbook, email me please on sally@scoach, SCOACH.UK. And I will, as also you can get the workbook. I can send you the work wheel as well, which is free. And also you can sign up to my next group session, which I'd love you to as well. So anything, I think anything can maybe become we talk about kind of we talk about comparison quite a lot. I genuinely don't think there is any difference in people, right? I genuinely don't. I think if you admire someone and think, I wish I could do what they can do, I genuinely think you can do it. And I would reach out to them and I would say, do you know what I really admire? Amelia is a fantastic example of this, right? So Amelia started doing these lives on LinkedIn, right? And what you slowly find yourself doing when you rock up to her lives every single week is going, well, you're right. Well, if Amelia can do it, I can do it. And I think it's really, you just learn from other people. It's a thing called totem. If you using a prop to make you feel better about yourself. Winston Churchill did it, or alter egos. So for example, Beyonce, this is probably a ridiculous example to give, but Beyonce was a choir singer and she really lacked the confidence to go on stage and be this performer. So she created an alter ego called Sasha Fierce, and Sasha Fierce was her performer. And Clark Kent did it with Superman. All of these different people, they take attributes that they want from other people and they use them, and it's called psychological distancing. So you pretend you're somebody else until you've built that skill up in order to do it. I promise you it works. It's like science, it works. So I was gaslit in my most recent role and it's extremely toxic. I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I feel like the rest of 2020 was a write-off. What is the best way to get my confidence back and not let it slip into interviews? Small steps. Work out. So do this wheel. Okay. So think of confidence as your overarching thing, and use the wheel to break down 8 different segments of what confidence means to you, okay? And then work on each one of those segments and think, right, which ones are working well at the moment, which ones don't I have to focus on, and which ones do I need to focus on, and then seek help to get the confidence back. If not, book in a one-to-one session with me. I'd love to help you. But I can appreciate if you're in a role and you're made to feel like that will stir up a lot of anxiety as to what's going to happen in the future. But you can separate the two, and you have got control of that. You really, really have. I've always wanted to run my own business. What advice do you have for striking out on your own if you've always worked for someone else? Right, number one bit of advice, just do it. So I've obviously been on this journey myself. And if you've got the passion to do it and you've got the idea, there is a whole network of people that are going to be out there just waiting to help you and to support you. So my advice would be absolutely do it. Do it as a little side hustle if that's the way you feel more comfortable. Do it as a little side hustle. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Do it from a place of passion. And again, it's just like goal setting. The more you talk about it to people, the more it becomes real. It will grow momentum and it will grow arms and legs. So I wish you the best of luck. It's the best thing I ever did. Genuinely, it's so exhilarating. Is there a word cloud from a recruiter hiring manager's perspective? What are the good things that they're looking for? Okay, is there a word cloud? I think, Sanjay, genuinely, I think it is very dependent on the role. It's very, very dependent on the business. As a recruiter, I would be recruiting for 8 to 10 roles at any given time with 8 different hiring managers who have got completely different needs, working in completely different cultures. I think the most important thing, if I'm being honest, is just to be yourself, and you will genuinely find the right role for you. If you're trying to fit into somebody else's mold or someone else's expectation and it's not aligned to you, your core values or what you've got to offer, it's not going to be the right fit. So I would say do work on yourself and really reestablish who you are and then take that to market, because you're very, very employable. So don't second guess what other people think of you. Just be yourself is my advice. Oh, and that's it. Okay, so how are we doing for time? We've got 10 more minutes. I'm sure Neil will be back on slide in a minute, but there is one more question that I want to ask you before we wrap up. And that is, bear with me, I need to reset those results, is this. So what action are you going to take in the next 24 hours to regain control of your career? And I really hope that you've guessed it. And by cutting through all of this noise, all of this exterior noise, all of these worries, you have been actually in control the whole time. I've hopefully just opened your eyes to that today. So nothing I've gone through today is groundbreaking. It is just a different perspective. But hopefully you're going to share with me you're going to connect with me. I'm looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. Oh, and you can find me on LinkedIn as well. So I do a live. So Andrew does his live, Amelia does hers. I do my live on a Tuesday at 12:15. I have loads of different guests on. We talk about the career pivot loads. I'm really, really passionate about that. And I think it's a really good opportunity if you are out of work at the moment, okay, is use this as a time to really reconnect with who you are and what you want. And don't just go into a job just for it's a job's sake. By all means, you can take a stepping stone job, but really it's an opportunity for you to really do what you want out of life and have a real passion for what you do and it be really aligned to your values. And the next group session I'm doing is called A Change in Direction. And it's a 6-week course. It's split into 3 different sections. There's lots of, and you'll see the kind of example of the workbook when I send you over the workbook for this session. But it's a real deep dive on just reconnecting with who you are and what those goals are. Oh, hang on, how am I going to get these all in? What these goals are and how you can plan and execute them, how you can build on your confidence, because I genuinely believe confidence comes from the inside out. So you can plan to implement learnings from today's session next week. Fantastic. Self-affirmation, please do. And please, can you tell me how you get on and talk positively about myself? Research and apply for psychological distancing to help conquer imposter syndrome. Whoever wrote that, please message me. That is the most amazing podcast I can send you on psychological distancing. Message me and I'll email you it. It's brilliant. So start my next action, begin writing up a plan for my own business. Yes. Say the course, I'm already addressing it. I don't want to lose focus or get demotivated. Fantastic. Continue being positive. Contact more recruitment agencies and get to you. Workbook. Speaking with a headhunter this afternoon. Good for you. Make the CV the best version and get me hired. Fantastic. Join LinkedIn lives regularly. I felt so motivated and connected today. I'm so pleased. Update CV and start researching the companies I want to work for. Absolutely. You've got so much to offer. Do the wheel, build confidence, learn from today's session, especially this one. Oh, I'm so thrilled. I really, really am. Okay, right. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm wondering if Neil's there. Oh,
I'm here. I'm alive.
hello.
You're right.
Blimey, how do I get out of this? Right, hang on.
That was absolutely incredible. When you said you had an interactive presentation, I thought, well, how interactive can it be? And then all the word cloud, that's absolutely amazing.
Oh. I'm really glad because, you know, when I'm obviously my one-to-one sessions, you get a lot of, you know, vocabulary coming at the other end. So yeah, it's just a great way to see how people are feeling. So yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. So, I mean, because we've only got a few minutes left, how can people find you? Is there an email address, a website, LinkedIn?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm just going to really quickly pop it in the thingy because a couple of people asked. So that's the website. That is the that's to get. Oh, hang on, it might help if I spelled my company name right, wouldn't it? That is how to get the workbook. I can send over to you. Sally Spicer on LinkedIn. There's only one of me, career coach. But yeah, I really hope that people found it useful. I really, really do. I love doing stuff like this. So thanks for having me. I think it's fate.
It was absolutely incredible, honestly. I was watching through it and I was just, I didn't even know this Menti thing existed. It's so powerful doing it.
It's a game changer, isn't it? When it works.
When it worked. And I'm having a bit of trouble with technology today, but that was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much for your time. That was absolutely amazing. And yeah, we will all see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, lovely. Well, do I just leave then?
Yeah, I can kick you off if you like.
Kick me off. Right. Lovely to see you all. Take care. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.